নমস্কার, শুভ সন্ধ্যা। নিউ ইয়র্ক কালী মন্দির। নিউ ইয়র্কবাসীর কাছে একটি বিশেষ নাম, একটি বিশেষ পরিচয়। মন্দিরের আজকে একটি বিশেষ দিন, প্রতিষ্ঠা দিবসের দিন। আজকে থেকে ঠিক 15 বছর আগে এই নিউ ইয়র্ক কালী মন্দিরের প্রতিষ্ঠা হয়েছিল। প্রতিষ্ঠা একটি আক্ষরিক নাম। আমাদের শাস্ত্র প্রতিষ্ঠা শব্দের অর্থ প্রাণ সঞ্চারের কথা বলেছেন। এই প্রাণ সঞ্চার হয়েছিল আজকে থেকে ঠিক 15 বছর আগে নিউ ইয়র্ক কালী মন্দিরের। মা ভবতারিণী আমাদের ঐহিক, মানসিক, শারীরিক সমস্ত কিছুর দেখভাল করেন, আমাদেরকে রক্ষা করেন, আমাদেরকে প্রেরণা দেন, আমাদেরকে বেঁচে থাকবার সাহস যোগান। মা ভবতারিণী, মা কালী। অন্যান্যবার আমরা আজকের এই বিশেষ দিনটাতে সকাল থেকে পুজোর আয়োজন করি। নবগ্রহ, বাস্তু, ভবতারিণী মা কালী, শিব, বিষ্ণু, যত মূর্তি আমাদের মন্দিরে আছেন তাদের সকলের পূজা হয়। পূজার শেষে আমরা হোমের আয়োজন করি। সমস্ত প্রক্রিয়া ক্রিয়া আজকে আমরা করেছি, কিন্তু এমন এক পরিস্থিতির মধ্যে দিয়ে আমরা যাচ্ছি, আমরা মানুষকে শারীরিকভাবে উপস্থিত হতে বলতে পারিনি। এর কষ্ট, এর বেদনা আমাদেরকে ছুঁয়ে যায়। তাই আমরা ঠিক করলাম কমিউনিটির মানুষের কাছে আমরা কিভাবে পৌঁছতে পারি। ভগবান যখন একটা দরজা খুলে দেন, ভগবান যখন একটা দরজা বন্ধ করেন, তখন আরো অনেক দরজাকে প্রসারিত করে দেন, খুলে দেন। আজকের এই বিশেষ দিনে, এই সন্ধেবেলা আমরা আমাদের সঙ্গে এমন একজন মানুষকে পেয়েছি যার কথায় আমাদের মন প্রাণ পুলকিত হয়। তার অমৃত বাণী শোনবার জন্য আমরা প্রতীক্ষা করে থাকি, অপেক্ষা করে থাকি। আজকের এই সান্ধ্য অনুষ্ঠানের বিশেষ যে মানুষ আমাদের সঙ্গে আছেন, মহারাজ সর্বপ্রিয়ানন্দ। তার কথা আমরা শুনবো। তার আগে একটু বলে নিতে চাই, এই যে মন্দির নিউ ইয়র্ক কালী মন্দির পশ্চিমবঙ্গের বাঙালিদের একমাত্র প্রতিষ্ঠান। বাঙালির যেন একটা আত্মপরিচয়ের বিষয়। বিক্ষিপ্ত বাঙালি ছড়িয়ে থাকা বাঙালি এক জায়গায় নিজেদেরকে সমবেত করবার যে প্রয়াস করেছিল আজ থেকে 15 বছর আগে, তার স্বরূপ হচ্ছে গিয়ে এই নিউ ইয়র্ক কালী মন্দির। একটু 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 করে আমরা আমাদের বাল্যদশা অতিক্রম করে আমরা আমাদের কৈশোর দশায় উপনীত হয়েছি। আমাদের এগোতে হবে আরো আরো অনেকটা। আপনাদের সাহায্য, প্রেরণা সব সময় আমাদের সঙ্গে আছে। আমরা বিশ্বাস করি যেখানে মানুষ আছে, মানুষের ভালোবাসা আছে, আমরা সমস্ত কিছুকে অতিক্রম করে আমরা আমাদের লক্ষ্যে পৌঁছতে পারবো। আমাদের সঙ্গে ঠাকুর আছেন, আমাদের সঙ্গে মা আছেন, আমাদের সঙ্গে বিবেকানন্দ আছেন, আমাদের সঙ্গে আছেন ভারতবর্ষের সমস্ত ঋষি মনীষী, তাদের আশীর্বাদ, তাদের প্রেরণা। এই আমাদের মন্দির। মা আমাদের অন্তরে আছেন, মা আমাদের বাহিরে আছে। আজকের এই বিশেষ দিনে আমরা একটা নতুন প্রকল্পের সূচনা করেছি। আমরা করেছি আমাদের যারা তরুণ প্রজন্ম আছে, যারা বড় হচ্ছে, এই একটা ভয়ানক পরিস্থিতির মধ্যে দাঁড়িয়ে আমরা তাদের দিয়ে একটা কাজ করবার চেষ্টা করেছি। যারা ফ্রন্টলাইন ফাইটার আছেন, ফায়ার ব্রিগেডে যারা লড়াই করছেন, বিভিন্ন প্রতিষ্ঠান থেকে যারা লড়াই করছেন, তাদের কাছে কিছু কিছু সামগ্রী আমরা আজকের বিশেষ দিনে পৌঁছে দেবার চেষ্টা করেছি মন্দিরের পক্ষ থেকে। স্বামীজি বারবার করে কর্মযোগের কথা বলেছেন, ভারতবর্ষের আধ্যাত্মিকতা সমন্বয়ের কথা বারবার করে বলেন। যেখানে কর্মযোগ থাকে, যেখানে জ্ঞান যোগ থাকে, যেখানে ভক্তি যোগ থাকে, যেখানে থাকে হচ্ছে গিয়ে এনার্জির কথা বারবার করে বলা হয়েছে। আমরা তার একটা প্রথম প্রয়াস করলাম, আজকে থেকে শুরু হয়েছে যেটি, সেটি হচ্ছে গিয়ে বিভিন্ন মানুষের কাছে পৌঁছে, প্রতিষ্ঠানের কাছে পৌঁছে গিয়ে তাদের কাছে কিছু সামগ্রী তুলে দেয়া, একটু গ্লাভস, কিছু স্যানিটাইজার, হাতে কিছু মাস্ক, এছাড়া আরো কিছু কিছু জিনিস আমরা চেষ্টা করেছি মানুষের কাছে পৌঁছবার জন্য। মন্দিরে যখন হোম হয়েছে তখন আমাদের ছেলে মেয়েরা প্রতিষ্ঠানে কর্ম করেছে। আমরা অনুষ্ঠানে চলে যাচ্ছি। আমাদের আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের প্রারম্ভে যিনি সঙ্গীত পরিবেশন করবেন, দুজন মানুষ অন্তর থেকে বাহির থেকে, এরা দুজনেই ভীষণ রকম স্পিরিচুয়াল পার্সোনালিটি। কমিউনিটি এদেরকে শ্রদ্ধা করে, ভালোবাসেন। আমাদের মধ্যে উপস্থিত আছেন শ্রমিক চৌধুরী, আমাদের মধ্যে উপস্থিত আছেন শ্রমিকদার বোন বৈশালী চৌধুরী। আমি শ্রমিকদাকে, বৈশালীকে অনুরোধ করব তাদের অনুষ্ঠান শুরু করবার জন্য। তারপরে আমাদের মধ্যে আরো একজন মানুষ আছে, প্রবাল মুখার্জি, আধ্যাত্মিক মানুষ, চেষ্টা করেন কমিউনিটির জন্য কিছু করবার। যেখানে মানুষ কিছু করছেন, কোনো ভালো উদ্যোগ নিচ্ছেন, সেখানে তারা সব সময় অত্যন্ত অজ্ঞাত সারে, কেউ জানে না এমন ভাবে তাদের সঙ্গে থাকে। সেই প্রবাল বাবু মহারাজকে আমাদের সঙ্গে পরিচিত করিয়ে দেবেন। আমি এখন শ্রমিকদাকে অনুরোধ করছি আজকের উদ্বোধন সঙ্গীত শুরু করবার জন্য।
Om Narayana Paraveda Narayana Parakshara Narayana Paramukti Narayana Paragati Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Rama Narayananta Mukunda Madhusudana Krishna Keshava Kanshare Hare Vaikuntha Vamana Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Hare Murare Madhukaitava Bhare Gopal Govinda मुकुन्द सौरे यज्ञेश नारायण कृष्ण विष्णु निराश्रयान्मा जगदीश रक्षः। जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे। हरे नाम हरे नामैव केवलम् कलौ नास्त्येव नास्त्येव गतिरन्यथा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे।
गिरिधर गोपाला, हे 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 गिरिधर गोपाला। मीरा के प्रभु गिरिधर नागर, मीरा के प्रभु गिरिधर नागर, सूरदास के श्याम मनोहर, भक्त के श्री श्याम नारायण गिरिधर गोपाला, हे गिरिधर गोपाला, हे गिरिधर गोपाला ला।
আমাদের আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের, আজকের এই সন্ধ্যার যার জন্য আমরা সমবেত হয়েছি, যার কথা শুনবো বলে আমরা সমবেত হয়েছি, সেই মহারাজ যার নামের মধ্যে দিয়েই আমরা যেন সেই লক্ষ্যে দেখতে পারি, যিনি সকলের প্রিয় এবং যিনি আনন্দ স্বরূপ। এই তিনটের একটা সম্মেলন যেন তার মধ্যে দিয়ে আমরা পাই। তিনি আমাদের মধ্যে আমরা উপস্থিত হয়েছি, আমরা গর্বিত, আমরা আপ্লুত তার কথা শুনবো বলে। আমি অনুরোধ করব প্রবালদাকে মহারাজ সম্পর্কে একটু, মহারাজের কথা নিউ ইয়র্ক নয়, আজকের পৃথিবীতে যেখানে যেখানে আধ্যাত্মিক পিপাসু মানুষ আছে, জ্ঞান পিপাসু মানুষ আছে, মৌমাছির মতো তারা যেন সেই মধুময় বাণী শোনবার জন্য তারা যেন অপেক্ষা করে থাকেন, সেই তাদের কাছে মহারাজকে আরো একটিবার পরিচয় করবার জন্য অনুরোধ করছি প্রবাল বাবুকে। প্রবাল বাবু।
Respected Swami Sarvapriyananda Maharaj, প্রণাম। আমাকে ইংরেজিতে বলতে বলা হয়েছে। Fellow devotees, Swami Vivekananda came to USA in 1883 and founded the first Vedanta Society in the West in New York in 1884. He said he has sown the seeds of Vedanta in USA, which would continue to grow. Indeed, his brother monks of the Ramakrishna order and their disciples had been spreading the teachings in Guru Parampara ever since, with centers all over USA. Swami Sarvapriyananda, following this lineage, is here since 2017 as the minister and the spiritual leader of the first USA Vedanta Society. Swamiji joined Ramakrishna Mott in 1994 and was ordained as a monk in 2004. In India, amongst many other assignments, he was a teacher and acharya at the Belur Math School for the Monks. He also lectured at various institutions on Vedanta and Indian philosophy. In USA, he has served at the Hollywood Center in California before coming to New York. Recently, he attended Harvard University Divinity School as the Negral Fellow in 2019-20. Swamiji brings Vedanta teachings to all in understandable terms. His extensive YouTube recordings have brought him into the lives of hundreds of thousands of viewers. He has won the hearts of devotees everywhere with his smiling dignity, gentle courtesy, readiness to face all kinds of questions, and explaining the heights of the teaching, the heights of India, the spiritual thoughts of India. He successfully spreads the teachings of Srirama Krishna and Swami Vivekananda to the world. On behalf of New York Kali Mandir, I'm honored to introduce Swami Sarvapriyananda to you. At this time, we request Swamiji to address us on this joyful occasion of founding the Mandir.
Thank you, Prabal Babu. Thank you, Shamiran Babu. Thank you for inviting me to this forum. Can you all hear me? Shobai shunte pacchen? All right. Let me start with a chant. Om Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dear friends, it's an honor to be invited to the Foundation Day celebrations of the New York Kali Temple. We are meeting under extraordinarily difficult circumstances. We all know that perhaps like nowhere else in the world, those of us who live in New York, we face the greatest challenge from the pandemic. By the grace of the Divine Mother, the situation seems to be improving a little here. But because of this, we are meeting online instead of physically at the temple. One advantage is people from all over the world can watch. And I see in the YouTube Some people are joining in from other parts of the world also. So whenever I think about the Kali temple, of course, we immediately think about the Dakshineshwar Kali temple and Sri Ramakrishna. So first, I would like to speak about Sri Ramakrishna and his Kali Shadhana in Dakshineshwar. So we know how the young priest who came to the Bhavatarani Kali temple and became, completely engrossed, captured by this idea of actually seeing Ma Kali. So he would spend day and night in the temple and till the temple was open. At one time, the temple would be closed for the bhoga. He would have to come out, but and at night, evening, the temple would be closed again for the night. Then he would have to come out. But otherwise, sometimes he would spend as much time possible in the temple with his beloved Ma Kali. At other times, he would go off to the forests. That means there was kind of a grove, Panchavati, and it was a little overgrown at that time. And he would go there and he would meditate, he would pray. In fact, we know his nephew, Hridayaram, would be worried. His mama, where is his mama going? And so one day he tried to follow, and to his horror, he saw that his uncle, Sri Ramakrishna, had thrown away the sacred thread, had dropped his wearing cloth dhoti also meditating. And of course, Hridayaram was scandalized. But Sri Ramakrishna was practicing. He used to say, Teen thakte noy, lajja bhai ghrina, teen thakte noy. So overcoming our natural tendencies of shame and disgust and fear uh, to attain that vision of Mother Kali. In many other practices, for example, he cleaned a latrine with his own hands, actually with his overgrown hair he cleaned, where the devotees, the visitors would get prasad. At that time, those leaf plates were there. He would go and clean that with his own hands, and those soiled leaf plates, after people had eaten, he would carry it on his own head and to dispose it off, and he would clean that place with his own hands. Another time, we know this, taka mati mati taka. He would sit on the bank of the Ganga and take clods of clay and rupee coins and throw them into the river, taka mati mati taka, to drive into his mind that worldly possessions, worldly wealth is of no consequence at all. It does not matter at all. And he is humorous also. He said later on that after he threw it, মনে ভয় লাগলো মা যদি ঘ্যাট বন্ধ করে দেন, that if I'm throwing away Lakshmi, so if the mother is annoyed and she stops my daily food, then what will happen? And then he prayed, মা তুমি আমার হৃদয়ে থাকো, mother please stay in my heart, not as money but just as devotion to you in my heart. So in this way he continued. And we have all heard the stories of how in the evening, as the sun set on the bank of the Ganga, he would throw himself, weeping for Ma Kali. He would throw himself on the ground and rub his face, crying out, Mother, Mother. People who gathered around him, some thought that the poor boy has come from a far-off village. Maybe he's missing his mother, is crying for his mother. Others thought that he's mad. This boy has become mad. He was mad, but mad for God. Later on, he would say that people are mad for many things in this world. People cry buckets of tears for relatives, for money, but nobody weeps for God. I choose, people are mad for the world, I choose to be mad for God. And in this way, he prayed and meditated and did the severe austerities. He would go into the temple when he had become the priest already, and wonderful worship. Hridayaram would say that when I saw my uncle worshipping Ma Kali in the temple, there would be such a vibration in the temple, an awesome presence that I would be overcome with reverence and devotion to my uncle, to Thakur. And yet, after he would come out of the temple, again those doubts would come back to Hridayaram, that is he mad or is he normal? And so this kind of thing would go on. Anyway, finally, Sri Ramakrishna later explained the tremendous urge, the eagerness in his heart. He said, just imagine a robber is there in a hut, and there is only a thin partition wall, and he knows on the other side there is a bag of gold. So will this robber be able to sleep at night? He will be obsessed with the idea of how do I get across this flimsy obstruction and get that bag of gold. Similarly was my state of mind. I knew the mother was there, but yet I could not see her. Of course, we know the story how he finally had the first vision of Ma Kali. I will read out a portion. This is Christopher Isherwood's wonderful Srirama, Krishna and his disciples. Recently, this book was published, I think, in 1965 or so. Just a few days back, I discovered New York Times had a review of this book. So Christopher Isherwood writing about the Bengali saint Sri Ramakrishna. So 1965. There he describes Sri Ramakrishna's vision of Ma Kali. This is how Ramakrishna describes the experience. There was an unbearable pain in my heart because I couldn't get a vision of mother. Just as a man wrings out a towel. Towel means we understand what we call a gamcha. So after taking a bath, you wring it out because it absorbs the water. It's not the towel which you have, which you use here in the West. Towel with all his strength to get the water out of it. So I felt as if my heart and mind were being wrung out. I began to think I should never see mother. I was dying of despair. In my agony, I said to myself, what's the use of living this life? Suddenly, my eyes fell on the sword that hangs in the temple. I decided to end my life with it then and there. Like a madman, I ran to it and seized it. And then I had a marvelous vision of the mother and fell down unconscious. Unconscious means unconscious of the external world. Inside, of course, he was fully conscious. It was as if houses, doors, temples, and everything else vanished altogether, as if there was nothing anywhere. And what I saw was an infinite, shoreless sea of light, a sea that was consciousness. However far and in whatever direction I looked, I saw shining waves one after another coming towards me. They were raging and storming upon me with great speed. Very soon they were upon me, and they made me sink down into unknown depths. I panted and struggled and lost consciousness. So when he came back to awareness of the external world, his first words were Ma, Ma. That means he had a vision of the blissful form of the mother. This is the Nirakara vision of pure consciousness, and then becoming, seeing one's oneness with it. And so many wonderful descriptions are there. He, no sooner that he sat down to worship, no sooner that I sat down to meditate, Sri Ramakrishna said, then I heard clattering sounds in the joints of my body and limbs. They began in my legs. It was as if someone had keys and was locking me up, joint by joint, turning the keys. I had no power to move my body or change my posture. I couldn't stop meditating or go anywhere else or do anything else I wanted. I was forced to sit in the same posture until my joints began clattering again and were unlocked, beginning at the neck this time and ending in my legs. When I sat and meditated, I first had visions of particles of light, like swarms of fireflies. Sometimes I saw masses of light covering everything on all sides like a mist. At other times, I saw how everything was pervaded by bright waves of light like molten silver. I didn't understand what I saw, nor did I know if it was good or bad to have such visions. So I prayed to the mother, I don't understand what is happening to me. Please teach me yourself how to know you. Mother, if you won't teach me, who will? He describes the beautiful image of Bhavatarini Kali. You remember those who have seen in the Dakshinesha temple. He says, I put my palm of my hand near the nostrils of the image, and I felt that the mother was actually breathing. I watched very closely, but I could never see her shadow on the temple wall in the light of the lamp at night. I used to hear from my room how mother ran upstairs, as merry as a little girl, with her anklets jingling. I wanted to be sure that she had really done this, so I went outside. And he says from downstairs, outside, he would see up in the temple. And there she was, standing on the veranda of the second floor of the temple. You have to imagine the Dakshineshwar main temple of Bhavatarini Kali. She was standing on the second floor, and she could see mother as a little girl there, standing on the second floor of the temple with her hair flying. Sometimes she looked towards Calcutta and sometimes towards the Ganga. So like this, many, many visions, one after another. Now, when we read this, of course, we are overwhelmed and we're filled with devotion. But the thing is, we feel that that is so extraordinary, and we don't have that kind of a devotion. So we sometimes may feel this huge gap. We read in the Shastras that if anybody has a pull, in Bengali, tan thakleই হবে, that if you have a pull towards God, if you have love for God, but in our heart of hearts, we feel a little despair that we don't have that kind of pull. I remember many years ago, an old Swami, a monk in Kolkata. I was a brahmachari, a young man at that time. And he pointed to a picture of Srirama Krishna on the wall and said to me, Bhai, ওই বুড়োর প্রতি কি করে আমার ভালোবাসা হয় এটা আমাকে বুঝিয়ে দিতে পারো? How can I have love for that old man, Srirama Krishna? Bhakti ki kore হবে? Now, that's the thing. See, it's like hunger. If somebody tells us, eat this, we can eat it. But if somebody tells us, be hungry, now how can you be hungry? Either you are hungry or not hungry. Desire, love, devotion, bhakti, either I feel it or I don't feel it. In Bengali, you will say, matlob kore to kora jay na. I can practice mechanically, but with bhakti, with devotion and love, how will that happen? So this is the topic today, cultivating love. We saw the extremes of devotion, the heights of devotion, which lead straight to God realization. We saw the example in Sri Ramakrishna. But now at the beginning, at our level, how do we cultivate bhakti? That's the this point of discussion today. See, the matter is actually much easier than we think. In the path of jnana, I talk about Vedanta. In the path of jnana, you will see that there's a difficulty. The difficulty is it's subtle. We have to study, we have to think about it and entirely change our way of thinking. This idea that we are this little creature, this body and mind, this person, this thing has to be revolutionized. It's not easy. Not only that, after quite some time, you'll see a common complaint. Those who are studying Vedanta and cultivating Vedanta, common complaint will be, I have read so much, I have heard so many things, but really my life has not changed. I have not experienced these things for myself. So what is the problem? The problem is Vedanta cannot be blamed, because any textbook of Vedanta you start, the first thing they will say, sadhan chatushtaya sampanna pramata adhikari, which means the pramata is the seeker, the knower. That knower is qualified who has fourfold qualifications. What are the qualifications? Viveka, this ability to discern the eternal from the non-eternal. Nitya anitya vastu viveka. Not a small thing. A very clear, deep feeling that there is an eternal reality. Call it Brahman, Bhagavan, Kali, whatever you call it. It is there, and everything else is non-eternal. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Bhagavani vastu ashava vastu. The only thing of substance, reality is God. Everything else is without substance. But it's not easy to have that conviction. Not realization, that is at the end, but even to begin with that conviction. Then from that follows vairagya, a dispassion for everything else that is non-eternal. What a big demand. They say big ask. The ask is so high that you'll have a clear dispassion, lack of interest, even like a dislike, active dislike of worldliness. After that comes sixfold treasures or disciplines. Shama, calmness of mind. Our minds are so anxious about little thing can make our mind anxious. No, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to worry or being anxious about anything. You need a calm mind for Vedanta. Damaha, control of sense organs. Titiksha means all kinds of sorrow. Sahanam sarva dukkhanam. Chinta vilapa rahitam. Apratikara purvakam, he says. So Shankaracharya. All kinds of sorrows. Physical problem, family problems, job anxieties, social problems, all of these things, political anxieties, all of these things, to bear with it patiently without getting shaken. Why? Because if you get shaken by these things, you cannot concentrate on Vedanta. So, titiksha, then there is uparati, to withdraw from too much engagement in worldly enjoyments, in worldly activities. Then once you withdraw, you have time and energy and the mental capacity to concentrate. So samadhana, to focus on Vedanta. And shraddha, Guru Shastra Vakya Shraddha. So what the teacher is telling us, what the texts are telling us, have deep faith in that. And then finally, the fourth one is mumukshutvam, intense desire to be free. I want moksha, just like Srirama Krishna says, I want to see the Divine Mother, I want to see Ma Kali. So this is all at the beginning, before you start Vedanta. Now, what a high ask. I went to visit Nalanda once, the ruins of the university in Bihar. So they said that the tradition was, in the gate, when the student would enter, at the gate itself, there would be pandits who will ask questions about basics, Sanskrit, grammar, and some other things. If you pass that, then you're allowed to enter through the gate. Otherwise, no, go back. I think that's how the name came, entrance examination. Now, the entrance examination for Vedanta is so high. Bhakti, what about practice? Suppose I want to be devoted to Ma Kali, to Krishna. What is the entrance examination? What is the preliminary qualification? What is the ask? Nothing. That's a very interesting thing. Nothing is asked. Say, just start with some devotion to God. You say, I do not have devotion to God. Does not matter. Make the smallest beginning, like a spark of fire which can become a blazing bonfire. If you have that one little spark, we love so many things in the world. It is just add Bhagavan to it. How to add? There's a secret. There's a secret. One should not take the attitude, there is something called God, maybe Ma Kali is there or Brahma is there, something is there, and I have to love that God. It is an image in the temple or a picture on the wall. I somehow have to love that. Don't think about it that way. In that impersonal way, it's not possible. It becomes like a mechanical exercise. The trick is this. The trick lies in mamatva, mamata. You see, the feeling that it is mine. So many things in the world we have attachment to. My father, my mother, my husband, my wife, my child, my house, my car, my gadgets, my money. And how much of attachment, how much psychic energy is poured into that. Whatever you say is mine, you clearly distinguish it from the rest of the things in the world and you protect it. You have a feeling of oneness with it, your feeling of ownership over it. It is mine, not others. Now that mamata, in Vedanta, you're supposed to overcome it. Vedanta, just the reverse. You have to practice asangatvam. I'm not attached to anything. The consciousness which we are, what is it attached to? Nothing. Like light shining in your room. In your room, there's light. The light, in that light, whatever you bring, it will be revealed by that light. But is the light attached to anything? Suppose you bring a plate of food into the room. The light will illuminate. When you take the plate away, will the light stick to it and go with it? No. The light is completely unattached. Consciousness is like that. Atma Chaitanya. But it's so difficult to be like that. Our minds get attached. And deep attachment, especially in worldly life and householder life, automatically deep attachment is there. It's no use saying that, cut it away. Bhakti. Sri Ramakrishna says, kathal bhangte gele oi rosh hate tel meke kathal bhanga. That means the jackfruit, if you want to break it open, it's sticky. So you have to put oil on your hands and then you can break it open. So this is all from, he has observed in the village. In the same way, if you want to go into samsara, then you must have the oil of bhakti and jnana. Then only you touch samsara. Otherwise, samsara will stick to you. That is all right. But suppose you are already in samsara, too late. Already kathal bhanga hoye gache, and it's sticking now. Now what do you do? The beauty of bhakti is it uses that same attachment, the same power of attachment, that mamata, I and mine. Just add one more thing to it. Just as you have the attachment to things of the world, people in the world, in your family and other places, similarly, my Mother Kali, my Kali, Amar Krishna, Amar Thakur, Srirama Krishna, mine. Amar Ma. There's a song, very popular song. Ma Amader Amra Mayer. Mother is ours and we are mothers. I'm reminded of Sister Nivedita. She would always write. She would always write and sign. When she would sign Nivedita of Ramakrishna Vivekananda. That was her signature. Last year, I went to England, and there was a ceremony in that small town where Nivedita's father was a minister in a church. And there is a grave there where her father, family, and everybody is buried there. And so after she passed away in India. She was cremated there. But her ashes were bought by, I think, Jagadish Bose, and put in that family church and a grave there. And there is a tomb, like a tombstone marker in that small town in England. So this time, with the help of the government of India, a statue of Nivedita was installed last year in that place. But what I'm saying is, in that little grave, in the remote corner, a beautiful little village of England, in the grave it is written, Nivedita of Ramakrishna Vivekananda. You see, who is mine? Ramakrishna Vivekananda are mine, and I belong to them. Why she used that? There's a beautiful story of the Christian saint, Saint Teresa, a few hundred years ago. So she had a vision of a man, obviously probably Jesus Christ with a beard and glowing face and all that, like a vision, darshan. And before she could say anything, that man in the vision asked the Saint Teresa, "Who are you?" And Saint Teresa said, "I am Teresa of Jesus. Who are you?" And that man said, "I am Jesus of Teresa." See, what a beautiful thing. When you say Amar Ma, mother also says Amar Chele, Amar Me, my mother, you immediately become mother also, God also responds. So Swami Vivekananda said, see, this is the technique of sadhana in our Sanatana Dharma. The technique is this, the secret is, we divinize our relationship with human beings and humanize our relationship with God. Divinized relationship with human beings means we see God in all human beings. That's like Sri Ramakrishna, Shiva, Jnana, Jiva, Shiva. But in God, we have a human relationship. My father, my mother. We worship God as father or mother or master. Tini Prabhu Amitar Das, like Hanuman had with Ramchandra. Or friend, like Arjuna or Uddhava had with Sri Krishna. Or like child, like Yashoda had with baby Krishna, baby Rama. Like Sri Ramakrishna is saying, how does he see Ma Kali? As a little girl running upstairs in the temple. So, as a child, as the beloved, like our Krishna and Radha. So these are human relationships. Now, why do you do that with God? Because the emotion, the attachment we have, mamatva we have in these relationships, if you can transfer that power to your relationship with God, the job is done. That's it. Nothing more you need to do. Even in a little bit, if you start. So the secret is this. Don't say, I have to love God, like my next exercise. Gym, byam kora holo, tapore giye abar Bhagavan ke bhakti korte hobe. Not like that. I have my God, my Lord, who is very close to me, very dear to me. The Lord belongs to me, I belong to the Lord. And we will all see at the end of our lives, that will be the greatest truth. At the beginning, it may seem to be an imagination. Even if it's an imagination, you will see it's a very nice imagination. It gives a lot of happiness. One sadhu said, if you want peace of mind, be dharmic. If you want happiness, have bhakti, fall in love with God. If you want deep calmness of mind, practice yoga, meditation. And if you want the truth, Advaita, Gyan. So Jnana gives you the truth, the highest truth. What is the truth about myself and the universe? Yoga, Raj Yoga, Patanjali Yoga, gives you the deepest calmness, absorption of the mind, focus. And Bhakti, what does Bhakti give you? Immediately, happiness. You will be happy. Deep inside, there will be a glow in your heart, joy, because you are in love, and love with the greatest lover of the universe, that is God. So Bhakti, small thing. I always give the example of this. It's called Bhikshu Pada Prasarana Nyaya. So in your house in India, this wandering sadhu will come and say, Bhikkhu, will say, give me a little space to stay, maybe in your garage or something. Say, all right, stay there, one corner. After that, he will say, no, that this corner I will stay, and that corner I must clean up, because my Shaligram Shila or Krishna is there, Gopal is there, Gopal has to be put there. So another corner is necessary, that has to be cleaned up. Next day when you start cooking, you say, no, you cannot start cooking. First, Gopal's food has to be cooked, then only everybody else can eat. And then whatever is in your garden, the first best thing has to be offered to Gopal. In that way, suddenly you will see within few days that Bhikkhu has taken over all of your life. You spread. Pada Prasarana means, let me stretch my feet. So stretching of the feet of the Bhikkhu is to stretch all over your life. And that's a good thing. That's how Bhakti spreads in every corner of our life. Where did I get these blessings of Bhakti? Maybe past life, sanskar or whatever it is. But I remember when we were kids, our grandmother, all brothers and sisters, little children playing around in grandmother's place, we would be called, one thing would be there, grandmother would call all of us before a little shrine where she had Thakur, Ma, Swamiji, her Gurudev, Shankaranandaji's picture and all of that. She would do a little arati, and all the grandchildren had to stand like this, because after that we will get toffee. So for that. But that little thing which is implanted in our mind, they would have a Patra Chakra in the house, little study circle. But for the grandchildren, it was compulsory. Grandfather would do some reading, grandmother would do the bhajans, and the grown-up people would sit there, all the daughters-in-law and everybody, and the children. And the grandchildren also had to quietly sit there. But maybe it was boring at that time. Also, we were not very rebellious. We were very obedient, I think, at that time. But it implanted that seed of bhakti. Just a little bit, it starts increasing. It spreads over your life. I have seen in all those children who attended there, they are all across the world in different jobs. So they are, except I'm a lonely monk, but others are married in household, but all of them have deep devotion to God in their own way. That is there. It started there. Little seed. That you can do for the children also, who are in this generation, grandchildren also in this generation here in the United States. This sadhana, one more point here about sadhana. We know, I will not talk about the sadhana of bhakti. We all know. There is rituals, there is puja, there is bhajan. If you cannot sing, you can at least listen. Now it's so easy on these computers and all kinds of beautiful bhajans. You can listen for hours. Keep it playing in the background of your house, and like light background music. Bhakti songs, chanting, reading the lives of great devotees, the sadhus who are great bhaktas. If you read the life, rather than reading philosophy and theory, if you read the lives of great devotees, automatically devotion is kindled in our heart. Apart from all of these practices of bhakti, one important practice is serving others. So as Shomiran Babu said, that some initiative was taken to help people who are first responders in New York. In the same way, Srirama, Swami Vivekananda would say, my God, the hungry, my God, the sick, my God, the ignorant, my God, the wicked. The same Narayana is present in all these forms, and you can worship God by serving humanity. I remember meeting this sadhu who was great Advaitin, non-dualist, Gyani. But he told us in the Himalayas, many years ago, he had come to the Himalayas and used to stay in a cave. Now he said, when I was a young sadhu, I would go from the cave to cave, from the kutia, the huts of the monks, and find out who needed what. Somebody needed, kisi ko rajai chahiye in Hindi, like kambal, comforter, blanket. Somebody needed milk, somebody needed medicine. Just find out how they are doing, and we're busy taking care of. The monks lived across valleys and mountains, so he had to do all of that. He did it on his own. One day his guru scolded him. And his guru said to him, so he was telling us, my guru said to me, kuch bhajan bhi kar liya kar. My boy, you're just roaming around here and there. Do some bhajan. Bhajan means sadhana. Do some bhajan. And this sadhu, he told us, when I met him, he was more than 80 years old. He was saying, when my guru scolded me, I felt sad. I thought, oh, all this I'm doing, so am I wasting my time? Is this not bhajan? Then I was reading in Sanskrit grammar, bhajan, the word bhajan, the root of that is bhaj. The bhaj dhatu, bhaj sevayam. What is the root meaning of bhajan? To do seva, to do service, to serve others is bhajan. So the service of the deity, that's how bhajan has come. We think bhajan means singing devotional songs. That's one kind of service to the deity. So in front of the image of Mother Kali, you sing Kali Kirtan. But that's not the only kind of bhajan. Serving God in any way is bhajan, because the meaning of bhaj is to serve. Shevayam, bhaj sevayam. So like Srirama Krishna said, Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva, to find the Lord, my Mother Kali, in all beings and to serve them. Swami Vivekananda himself was not so convinced. You see, first of all, he did not like this whole Kali and Sri Rama. He was very influenced by Brahma Samaj. And Keshav Sen had come to Sri Ramakrishna, was influenced. And then the young people heard about Sri Ramakrishna mostly through Brahma Samaj and Keshav Sen. And then they came to Sri Ramakrishna. I was remembering this beautiful exchange between Sri Ramakrishna and Keshav Sen. Keshav Sen was very well known in Calcutta in those days. And then he had traveled across. It was a rare thing in those days. He had traveled to Europe, he had gone to England and met the Queen Victoria. So that was a big thing in those days, a really, as we would say, big deal in those days. Now, so he had seen so many things in different countries. Sri Ramakrishna is telling Keshav Sen, you have seen so many things, this country, that country. Jagod jude je amar ma achen take nakhoni. That my mother is there everywhere in this universe, but can't you see my mother? Now that mother, Swami Vivekananda Narendranath was not very interested. But we all know the story when he was in deep trouble after Vishwanath Datta passed away and he was looking for a job and family is in trouble, poverty and all of that. And then he asked Sri Ramakrishna that, can you tell Kali to help my family? Sri Ramakrishna said, you go. I don't ask for such things, for money and all. You go and ask. Today is a Tuesday, or I think it was Tuesday or Saturday. Tuesday, I think. Go and ask. And he was persuaded. So he went, and then he came back in a divine mood. And Sri Ramakrishna asked Naren that, did you ask for money? What happened? So when I went there, I found the living form, not the image, living form of Ma Kali. I was so overwhelmed with devotion. I asked, but for jnana, bhakti, and viveka, and vairagya, for devotion, for knowledge, for this divine discernment between the eternal and non-eternal, and dispassion for the world. All right, that's all right. But did you ask for money? Sri Ramakrishna is asking Naren. Naren said, I forgot. Sri Ramakrishna said, how foolish. Go. Even there's still time. Go and ask again. So 3 times like this it happened. Every time Naren forgot. And of course, this was a test by Sri Ramakrishna. But my point is something different. So that day he came back and he was, after the 3rd time, Naren understood that this is your trick, he told Thakur. You bless me, that my family. And then Sri Ramakrishna said, yes. Mota bhat kapode abhav bhavena. That your family will never lack for basic, simple food and clothing. He never blessed that they will become multimillionaires or something, no. So, and that was true. So afterwards they led a simple and plain life. But throughout that night, I think Narendranath sang devotional songs to Ma Kali. And he fell asleep early in the morning. And those who came to visit next day, Sri Ramakrishna would tell everybody, Naren Kali meneche. Bolo khub bhalo hoyeche na? Naren has accepted Mother Kali. Isn't it very good? Now, what is Narayan accepting Mother Kali? What is the meaning of it? Why is it good? Nobody quite understood. But Sri Ramakrishna was so enthusiastic, everybody said, yes, it's very good. Khub bhalo. Narayan Kali meneche. Narayan has accepted Mother Kali. Now, what is this thing about Narayan accepting Mother Kali? Do you know that today we are sitting here, New York, Vedanta Society, Kali Temple, all of this we are doing is a direct result of Narayan Kali Manage. Narayan was absolutely not interested in doing this work of spreading Hinduism and awakening India and all the work that he did in 10 years. But it is the work of Ma Kali. It is the mission for which Sri Ramakrishna has said. Sri Ramakrishna said, you have to do this. Narendranath said, I will not do this work. Sri Ramakrishna said, Tor hard korbe. Your very bones will make you do it. Mother Kali will make you do it. If Kali meneche, accepted Mother Kali, it is this thing that the mission, the whole great purpose behind the advent of the avatar of coming of Sri Ramakrishna. Swami Vivekananda says, he was Kali himself. I am sure of it. Sri Ramakrishna was Kali. Narendranath says, I am sure of it. Kali worked up the body of Sri Ramakrishna for her own ends. He said it in America. He said, in Vedanta, there is enough for the liberation of humanity. But if you want to do anything in this world, you need the blessings of the Divine Mother, of Mother Kali. And he said, this Kali worship is a special fad of mine. Here he was trying to say that other than Vedanta, I have one more side, Kali worship. And that is, he says, it's a secret which will die with me. But this because of the mission of the Divine Mother, I'm quite sure not only are we here today, not only is Kali Mandir there, not only Vedanta Society is there, the spread of Hinduism and Indian spiritual traditions across the world. It is all starting with Vivekananda. And that started with that night in Dakshineshwar, when Sri Ramakrishna with delight says, Narayan Kali Maneche, Beshoeche. So today we have to say, Beshoeche. we are all beneficiaries of that. I will end with this. Naradiya Bhakti Sutra. There is a sutra which says, what is the result of bhakti? Siddho bhavati, amrito bhavati, tripto bhavati. One becomes siddha, means spiritually accomplished. One becomes amrita, immortal. One attains immortality, goes beyond the cycle of birth and death. Tripta, one becomes completely full. Tripti means fulfillment. One becomes completely full. Now, why I remember this is, one sadhu, he explained it so beautifully. He said, Lo bhakti ki mahima, look at the glory of bhakti. Bin sadhan ki siddhi, bin gyan ki amritatva, bin bhog ki tripti. Without sadhana, what is siddhi? The conclusion and fulfillment and result of sadhana. If you do a lot of spiritual practice, the result is called siddhi. So from sadhana comes siddhi. Bhakti, the glory of bhakti is just by devotion to the mother, siddhi will come. Nothing else is necessary. Love to the Divine Mother, just holding on to God, that itself leads to God will give whatever is necessary. Whatever is necessary for us, that siddhi, that spiritual perfection, will come because of sadhana. Without sadhana, bin sadhana ki siddhi. Of course, this is a kind of sadhana in itself. Bhakti is a sadhana. Amrita, immortality. Tameva viditva ati mrityumeti. By realizing that infinite being, Brahman, one goes beyond death. Amritatvam, that means immortality. Here, without all that Vedanta, just by bhakti to the mother, amrito bhavati, becomes immortal. And tripto bhavati, fulfilled. How do we seek fulfillment? We rush around in the world, relationship, money, achievement, all of these things in the world, name and fame, learning, and try to be fulfilled. And yet, at the end of it, we are still thirsty. One Rajanikanth song is there, I think, that those who are sitting on the bank of the ocean of immortality, on the bank of Amrita, and dying of thirst. That they don't look back, that just behind them is the ocean of immortality. You will be completely fulfilled if you catch that, if you do take that. But sitting there on the ocean, the bank of the ocean of immortal bliss. We do not drink that nectar. We look for this dry sand. We're trying to get satisfaction from this. So, tripto bhavati. Bhakti itself will give you tripti. I pray to the Divine Mother, whose avatar was Srirama, the Holy Mother, Swami Vivekananda. I pray to her to bless us all, to protect us in these days of trial, in these trying times, and to shower us with her blessings and fill our hearts with bhakti, fill our hearts with devotion. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let me see. Shamiran Babu was saying that there might be questions in the Google, in the chat, I think. No, I don't see any questions there. Just a couple of comments are there. Right. So there were some questions by email, I think. Shamiran Babu? Yes, you have to unmute yourself. Unmute.
Yeah, 1 minute. আমি একটুখানি চশমা নিই। আমাদের সঙ্গে প্রবালদা আছেন। প্রবালদা, আপনি কি আপনার প্রশ্নটা একবার নিজে পড়তে পারেন? তাহলে আপনাকেও একেবারে সরাসরি মানুষ দেখতেও পারবেন, আর আপনার প্রশ্নটা সরাসরি আপনার মুখ থেকে শুনতে পারলে ভালো লাগবে।
হ্যাঁ, তুমি বলে দাও, আমাকে খুঁজে বার করতে হবে।
ও আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে, আমি দেখছি।
Okay, by this time some questions are coming in, so I can apni ota khuje bar korun. I'm just responding to the questions I can see in the YouTube chat. Nochiketa Mitra, Gyan, Bhakti or Karma, which is the best way to realize God? I remember one of the Bhakti Acharyas answering this. Of course, he will say Bhakti, but you see how wonderfully he gives the glory of Bhakti. Do you know, in the path of Jnana, the goal is not Jnana. Sadhan, Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasana. Kodle ki hai? Brahma Gyan hai. By practice of Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, one attains that flash of enlightening knowledge called Brahma Jnana. But that's not the goal. The goal is to realize that you are Brahman by that Brahma Jnana. Your ignorance is removed and you are Brahman. After that, you don't need Vedanta. You don't need that Jnana also. That goes away. In the path of yoga, by samadhi, there is the knowledge. It's called Viveka Khyati. The distinction between Prakriti and Purusha becomes clear, and view as the Purusha, you realize your freedom. So the goal of yoga is to set you free, and after that you don't need yoga. So the Purusha in its pristine state does not need or cannot practice yoga also. So by practice of yoga, you go beyond yoga. By practice of jnana, you go beyond jnana. By practice of karma, you go beyond karma. That is called the Naishkarmya Siddhi. That means beyond the whole idea of doership. You go beyond, transcend karma. But bhakti, the teacher said, bhakti, the interesting thing about bhakti is that bhakti is not only the path, but is also the goal. Notice that by bhakti, once you realize God, Makali Darshan Holo, whatever you see, the divine vision, you realize. After that, will you give up bhakti? Now I have seen Makali, no need for any more bhakti, finished. No, you never do that. Bhakti increases. So bhakti is not only the path. At the beginning there is bhakti, in the middle there is bhakti, but after enlightenment, when you are like Srirama Krishna, when you get realization, like the Siddhas, Sri Ramakrishna also was immersed in bhakti, so was Ma Sharada, so was Swami Vivekananda, and so we all will be. So bhakti does not end. Bhakti is not only the means, it's also the goal. Sri Ramakrishna has said, Manushya Jivaner Uddeshya, what is the goal of human life? He has said, Bhagavan Labh Kara, God realization. I think a few times he has said Gyan Labh Kara. He has never said Samadhi Labh Kara. You see, in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, the most attractive thing which attracts people, is that he goes into samadhi, he has the vision of God. We see that all the time. In Kathamrita, you find Samadhi Mandir, he's in samadhi, and people are attracted by that. But notice, Sri Ramakrishna never says anywhere in the Kathamrita that samadhi is the goal of human life. No. Bhagavan love is the goal of human life. And in number of times he says, Bhakti love is the goal of human life. To attain true love of God, that is the goal. That is sufficient. That's the goal of human life. So yogic samadhi also is not the goal. The Brahmagyana, that is also not the goal. That takes you to the goal of realization. But in bhakti, bhakti itself is the goal. That is the glory of bhakti. Now, the question was, which one is better? Swami Vivekananda's answer is what I like best. It is the harmony of all four. The harmony of devotion, harmony of karma yoga, that is service, the harmony of meditation, and harmonized with knowledge. Gyan, bhakti, karma, dhyan. So it's a symbol of the Ramakrishna order. You will see these four are symbolized. There'll be waters, which is karma yoga. The sun is rising, that is Gyan yoga. There is the lotus, and that is bhakti yoga. And the whole thing is surrounded by the serpent, which is symbolizes Kundalini Shakti or Raj yoga. And in the middle, the swan is swimming. The swan Hangsha is a symbol, Paramahamsa, it's a symbol of the Paramatman. So the meaning of the whole thing is, by the harmonious practice of devotion, karma, that is karma yoga, meditation, and knowledge, we realize divinity, we realize God. So direct answer would be, bhakti is wonderful, but it's the best thing to do is to practice a harmony of the four yogas. Then one more.
Okay.
Bolun.
The question is, we worship the traditional god and goddesses, also images and pictures of avatars, gurus, great personages, etc. Does the form worshipped by us make any difference, or any form worshipped with devotion bring same result?
Any form worshipped with devotion brings the same result, definitely. But we have the tradition in Hinduism of Ishta Devata. So when you are initiated by a guru, in any tradition, in our Ramakrishna mission or any tradition, when the guru gives the mantra, the guru will also indicate your Ishta Devata. It may be in the form of Shiva, it may be in the form of Durga or Kali or Vishnu, or it may be in the form of an avatar like Rama or Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Ramakrishna. So their avatar also can be worshipped. Some people worship Guru. Now, Ishta Devata, you have to stick to one form. You know that the same divinity is in the form of Rama or Krishna. The same divinity is my Narayan, is my Kali. This is the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. In the opening song, you heard there was a song to Ma Kali and to Narayan, to Krishna. All of the songs included all of this. There is no rivalry there. That is something so natural for us Hindus. We are quite surprised to see here that every little church says everybody else will go to hell. Baki sab bhul amrai thik. This thing we find rather strange and funny in this culture, but that's very common here. They find it very strange that in our culture, all of these different streams of religious practice, we harmonize easily. But that harmonization has to be done on the basis of Ishta Devata. So if you are initiated, if you have a particular tradition, maybe from your guru, maybe your family tradition, then hold on to that one. So suppose Kali is your Ishta Devata. Kali was the Ishta Devi for Sri Ramakrishna. Now then Kali is central to your practice. You will repeat a mantra of Kali, you will have the image and the picture of Kali, you will pray to Ma Kali. When you will visualize a form of Ma Kali. But in your shrine, you will definitely have pictures of Shiva, you may have pictures of Krishna or Ram Krishna. All of those things may be there. And you mentally, during your puja, you offer flowers. Sarvebhyo devebhyo namaha, sarvebhyo devebhyo namaha. All the gods and goddesses you offer. So that we do, but focus must be there in one, and that is the Ishta Devata. The beauty of our focus is, in Hinduism, there is no fanaticism in our focus. I may focus on Kali, you may focus on Krishna. There is no fanaticism there. We know it is the same divinity, we are worshipping in different name and form. আপনাকে আনমিউট করতে হবে। You have to unmute yourself.
Okay. So this question from Lakshmi Narayan and Indrani Chatterjee. His first question is, how can we fix our mind towards God in our daily activities?
Yes.
Each, yes. Atmar muktir upay ki?
You know,
This is the
daily
first question.
activities.
Yeah.
Daily activities, that is what I mentioned. That's why I added that thing. In addition to our traditional bhakti practice, pujo, chanting, mantra part, then bhakti sangeet. These are our traditional bhakti practices. In addition to that, can you convert day-to-day activities into bhakti? So your work in the office, in the family, in the community, that this karma yoga, karma into karma yoga. Then what happens is, whatever you are doing throughout the day can become worship, can become upasana. Then you can connect all the activities in the day-to-day life towards God. And that's the important practice which Swami Vivekananda gave for this age, to turn karma into karma yoga. When he heard Srirama Krishna say that sheep gyani jeev sheva, Swami Vivekananda said that today I've heard a tremendous thing. And if, by the grace of God, if God gives me the chance, I will spread it across the world. So this is the answer to your question. How can I convert my daily activities into, how can I connect it to God? Yes.
আচ্ছা, একটা জাস্ট একটা জিজ্ঞাসা, সেটা হচ্ছে আমরা এতে দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে কর্মযোগের কথায় আমরা দেখি যে জীব সেবাই শিব সেবা, ঠাকুর বলছেন, স্বামীজি বলছেন। আবার রবীন্দ্রনাথ বলছেন যে যতকাল তুই মনের কোণে রইবি পরাধীন, অন্তরেরই অন্তঃপুরে থাকরে ততদিন। তাহলে কি মানে তৈরি হয়ে তারপরে অন্যের কাজ করতে যাওয়াটা ঠিক হবে, নাকি কাজ করতে করতেই সেই বারবার পড়তে পড়তে আছাড় খেতে খেতে যেমন হাঁটার অভ্যেসটা তৈরি হয়ে যায়, নাকি ভেতর থেকে তৈরি হয়ে তারপরে জনসেবাই বলি বা লোক সেবাই বলি, বা মানে কিভাবে এই প্রস্তুতিটা, কোনটা আগে, যদিও কোনোটা আগে বা কোনোটা পরে হয়তো নেই, কিন্তু এই যে দুটোর মধ্যে একদিকে বলছেন যতকাল তুই মনের কোণে রইবি পরাধীন, অন্তরেরই অন্তঃপুরে থাকরে ততদিন। তা না হলে পরের কথাগুলোর মধ্যে যেন কাজ করতে গেলেই কাজের যে একটা তৈরি হওয়া না থাকলে যে কাজের এক্সপেকটেশন থাকে, যে কারণ সমস্ত কিছুটাই হচ্ছে গিয়ে দেওয়া নেওয়ার উপরে নির্ভর করে আছে। কারণ স্থিতধী হয়ে তো আমরা কারোর কাজ করতে যাই না। দুঃখে শোনা উদ্বিগ্ন মানা সুখে সুবিগত স্পৃহা, এই বিগত স্পৃহা না হয়ে কাজ করতে গেলে সেটা হয়তো হতে পারে, কিন্তু সেটা যদি না হয় যে অথচ কাজ করবার ইচ্ছেটা সমানভাবেই আছে। অনেক সময় হয় যে আপনি যে সমন্বয়ের কথা বললেন, কর্মযোগ, ভক্তিযোগ, জ্ঞানযোগ, তো এইটা একটুখানি আপনি একটুখানি বলুন বিষয়টা, যে এটা কিভাবে সাধারণ কাছে দুটো একই সঙ্গে করা যেতে পারে আর কি। যে
That is right. This is a question which comes to most of us, that should I not realize God first and then I will do karma yoga for the benefit of others? অন্য মানুষের সেবা করব, কিন্তু আগে তো ভগবান লাভ করে নি, তারপরে করব। এই প্রশ্নটা মনে আসে। কিন্তু the practical way out is, as Swami Vivekananda said, the harmony of the four yogas. নিজের জীবনে প্রথম থেকেই, অধ্যাত্ম জীবনে প্রথম থেকেই, the safest and most wholesome way is to have all the four components of meditation and service, devotion and knowledge harmonized in one's life. আপনি দেখুন একটি রামকৃষ্ণ মিশনের সাধুর যে সারা দিনের যে কি করে, তো তারা সবটাই করে, কিন্তু তো তারা ভোরবেলা উঠে মঙ্গল আরতি গিয়ে জপ ধ্যান করবে, তারপরে শাস্ত্রপাঠ করেন, তারপরে যে যার কাজে চলে গেলেন সারাদিন, জনকল্যাণের কোনো সেবামূলক কার্যে, সেটা শিক্ষারই হোক আর মেডিকেল সার্ভিসই হোক, যে কোনো কাজে তারা জড়িয়ে থাকেন, কাজ সেবা করেন। আবার সন্ধ্যেবেলা ঠিক সময় মতন সন্ধ্যা আরতিতে গিয়ে বসলেন, তারপরে জপ ধ্যান করলেন, তারপরে আবার পড়াশুনো, এই করে সারা দিনের মধ্যে দেখবেন ওই চারটে যোগের এলিমেন্টস অফ দ্যাট অলওয়েজ বিউটিফুলি হার্মোনাইজড। এইটা হচ্ছে খুব হোলসাম পাথ। নাহলে যেটা আপনি বলছিলেন ঠিকই, যে প্রস্তুতি নেই, আমি সেবামূলক কাজে ঝাঁপিয়ে পড়লাম, তারপরে কিছুদিন পরে হলো কি যে ভগবান লাভ উদ্দেশ্য ছিল সেটা কোথায় হাওয়া হয়ে গেল। তখন সমাজে আমার প্রতিষ্ঠা, আমাকে কোন অ্যাওয়ার্ড দেবে, আমাকে কতজন রেকগনাইজ করলো আমার কাজে, কে আমার কাজে বাধা দিচ্ছে, এই সব নিয়ে জড়িয়ে পড়ি তখন। সেটা যদি না করি, শুধু আমি সাধন ভজন করব, এটাও বা কজন পারে? আমি শুধু জপ ধ্যান করবো ওই নিজের মনের মধ্যে, তাতে একটা সেলফিশনেস এসে যায়। আমার ধ্যানের সময়, আমার রুটিন, আমার মনের শান্তি, হ্যাঁ? পাশের লোক হয়তো খেতে পাচ্ছে না, না আমি দেখবো না, সে তার কর্মফলে মরছে। ওটাও কিন্তু স্পিরিচুয়ালিটি হবে না। দুঃখের ব্যাপার হচ্ছে সেটাই, যে আমি অন্যদের ইগনোর করে আমি ভগবান লাভ যদি করতে পারতাম, তাও কম কথা নয়, কিন্তু তা হয় না কখনো। তো এই ৪ টি যোগ একসঙ্গে চললে তাতে যে খুব সোজা হয়ে যাবে তা নয়, কিন্তু ইটস আ সলিউশন টু দিস প্রবলেম। আমার সারা দিনটাকে কাজে লাগাতে পারবো তাহলে। আর একটা প্রশ্নের কমেন্ট ছিল, আমি সেটা আনসার করেই দিয়েছি, তাও যে ইউটিউবে স্যাম জিজ্ঞেস করছেন, Swami Vivekananda had a leaning towards formlessness without rituals. He himself prayed to the Divine Mother. How can this be explained? So thanks. অতনু জিজ্ঞেস করছেন এটা তো যেমন আমি বললাম যে ওনার প্রথম থেকেই ব্রাহ্ম সমাজে যেতেন, তারপরে অদ্বৈত বেদান্তের দিকে খুব ঝোঁক এলো, সেটা ঠাকুর প্রথম থেকে বুঝেছিলেন। উনি অষ্টাবক্র গীতা নরেনকেই পড়তে দিতেন। আর he encouraged, Sri Ramakrishna encouraged the development of Swami Vivekananda along Vedantic Advaitic lines. কিন্তু at the same time, ওই যে নরেন কালী মেনেছে, এটা বেশ হয়েছে। তো he had a personal deep devotion to the Divine Mother. এটা মনে রাখতে হবে যে ওনার শেষ দিনে 4th জুলাই, 4ঠা জুলাই, যেদিন মহাসমাধি হয়েছিল স্বামী বিবেকানন্দের 1902, সেদিন উনি অনেকক্ষণ ধরে মন্দিরে ধ্যান করেছিলেন। ধ্যান করে তারপরে উনি শ্যামাসঙ্গীত গেয়েছিলেন অনেকক্ষণ ধরে। সেখানে আমি ব্রহ্ম ওইটা না করে শ্যামাসঙ্গীত গেয়ে শেষ ওনার যে ভক্তি, সেটা শেষ সাধনা যেটা, সেটা মা কালীর প্রতি ভক্তি আমাদের দেখতে পাই। বেশ, থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ। আপনাকে আনমিউট করতে হবে বোধহয়।
তো মহারাজকে আরো একবার প্রণাম, আমাদের সকলের পক্ষ থেকে শ্রদ্ধা ভালোবাসা। আমরা শুরুতেই বলেছিলাম একজন মানুষকে আজকে সন্ধ্যায় আপনাদের কাছে নিউ ইয়র্ক কালী মন্দির উপস্থিত করছেন, যিনি সর্বকে উপলব্ধি করেছেন, যিনি আমাদের অত্যন্ত প্রিয়, আর যার সঙ্গে কথা বললে আমরা আনন্দের উপলব্ধি করি। এই তিনটে জিনিস মহারাজ বারবার করে সমন্বয়ের কথা বললেন, নিজের জীবনেই তিনি এই সমন্বয়কে প্রতিষ্ঠা করেছেন। আমরা তার আশ্রিত, তিনি আমাদের মধ্যে আছেন। আমাদের মধ্যেকার যে কোনো প্রশ্ন যখন উদয় হয়, আমরা জানি আমাদের মধ্যে এমন একজন আছেন যার কাছে গেলে আমরা উত্তরগুলো পাই। নিউ ইয়র্ক কালী মন্দির সকলের জন্য সব সময় আছে, এটাকে আমরা বিশ্বাস করতে চাই। যে এখানে যেমন আমরা মায়ের আরাধনা করি, আর আমি মন্দিরের পুরোহিত হিসেবেও বিশ্বাস করি, মা যেমন মন্দিরের মধ্যে আছে, একই সঙ্গে মা সব জায়গাতেই আছে। আমাদের আজকের যে নতুন কর্মের সূচনা হলো, এই কর্মের সূচনা সেই একটা ভাবনাকেই যেন আরেকটুখানি এগিয়ে দিতে চায়। আপনারা সবাই ভালো থাকবেন, নিউ ইয়র্ক মন্দিরে আসবেন, আসবার আগে একটু ফোন করে আসবেন, কারণ এখন একটুখানি সকলের উপস্থিতি নিয়ে একটু বাধ্যবাধকতা আছে। একটু ফোন করে সকলে চলে আসবেন। আপনাদের সঙ্গে সময় কাটাতে পারলে মায়ের সঙ্গে একই সঙ্গে আমাদের খুব ভালো লাগে। সকলেই ভালো থাকবেন। মহারাজকে আরো একবার প্রণাম জানাই, শ্রদ্ধা জানাই, জানিয়ে আজকের সন্ধ্যা শেষ করছি। শুভরাত্রি, সকলে ভালো থাকুন। জয় ঠাকুর, জয় মা, জয় বিবেকানন্দ, জয় ভারতবর্ষ, জয় হিন্দু সংস্কৃতি, জয় সমস্ত সংস্কৃতি, সমস্ত ধর্মকে প্রণাম জানিয়ে শেষ করছি। শুভরাত্রি।